Hey, Redcasters, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Go Big Red.
Welcome to the Go Big Redcast, the Husker Fan Sports Show.
I'm with Rob.
Hey, good evening, everybody. I just wanted to make sure that everyone knows that even though I've been with the podcast here for going on what seems to be 4 years or forever. Yeah. I promise this is my dream podcast. I'm not going anywhere. Just signed an extension. We're good.
I don't know, Rob. 4 years is a long time to be on a podcast. Usually most podcasters that are on for more than that are washed up
my family
like
again.
me and Boomer.
Yeah,
well,
I'm not
he's
moving
looking
my
to
family
maybe
again.
kind of leverage his way into the podcast playoff committee or something. I don't know, but
that's right.
It seems like we've been doing a lot of these lately. Has stuff been going on, Dave? Have I been missing news? Or
we haven't done this many podcasts on in this time of year and ever, because Nebraska basketball team has never made it to March Madness while we've had the show on for the last 7 years. But here we are, and we're having fun with it. So. Rob, you did a great job there on Sunday doing a kind of a live show by yourself, talking through the brackets as they were revealed. How do you think that went? Did you enjoy it?
I did, although it was funny because I was looking at questions, and then when Nebraska got announced, they got announced way sooner than I expected them to. And so I turned around and I was like, oh, well, it looks like they announced Nebraska. And then they announced the Texas A&M, and I really, honestly, I have a lot of opinions. We can talk more about that, I guess. But I was not happy that they matched them up with Texas A&M, because I was really hoping that Nebraska would just get a normal matchup that didn't include any drama, that didn't include any type of like innuendos because of who they're playing, etc. And of course, the committee just couldn't leave it alone. And not only did they match up our men with A&M, but they matched up our women with A&M. And yeah, it's just too bad. My opinion on that is I think it's the same as a lot of people out there, where we wanted the focus to be on our men's team, see them win their first NCAA game ever. And now it's like there's this whole big storyline. They're going to be panning the cameras over to Trev Alberts. It's just too bad. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't care.
I mean,
it just doesn't.
I guess play out. I agree. You know what I mean? Like, we still have to play the game. It's just stupid. That's all.
Okay, thanks, Rob. I appreciate it. I think a lot of people do probably think it's stupid. I think a lot of people probably put way more thought into this than the players should certainly do, let alone the coaches or even the people that have made certain moves in one way or the other. But let's talk about that first a little bit. Then we'll maybe go into the tournament, maybe with a request there. Maybe we'll let Rod talk about Around the Van Horn too, because the Nebraska men's baseball team is playing quite well. But let's throw on those scarlet-colored glasses and talk all things Husker football and Husker athletics. And the big news today, Boomer, is that we already have a new AD after the departure of Trev Alberts just last week, and that new AD will be the former Tulane and Washington Husky AD, Troy Dannon. And what do you think about AD Troy?
Yeah, first off, it's just kind of amazing how quickly they moved on this, as opposed to, we had a new AD hired before.
7 months for a president.
Yeah. And we've got an AD in about a week. So, yeah, I guess priorities, right? But yeah, that's fine. But it's a convenient hire, I think, in a lot of ways. He probably hasn't even finished unpacking from moving to Seattle, so it's going to be a real time saver for him. A lot of stuff still in boxes. He's only been there since October, so he had a very short tenure there at Washington. And,
yeah. Maybe his wife realized she didn't look good in purple.
Could be that. Yeah, it's not a slimming color for most of us, so it can be tough to wear. So it's on paper it seems like a good hire. I'm not one of those people that gets too worked up, calling anyone a home run hire. I mean, how many times have we been burned on that over the last few years? Everybody,
we're the home run champ when it comes to that, Boomer.
Exactly, yeah. So just on the surface, he looks like he's a capable athletic director. You hear good news about him. He didn't get a lot of time at a major university like Washington to see what he could do. He did, try to keep Kellen DeBeer there, and failed. The siren song of Alabama is going to be tough for any athletic director to keep a coach if a major continual top 5 program comes calling. That's going to be a hard sell for anybody. So I don't put a whole lot of shame in that. Not being able to keep DeBeer there. Brought in what's his name, Fish from Arizona. Yeah,
that was a good hire
there. And I know he had just fired their basketball coach and hadn't had a chance to hire anyone there. So I guess that's something else in there. The new AD's lap there. But, on paper, it seems like a decent hire. Hopefully, he's got some experience in Tulane with fundraising and getting a lot of projects off there. I know he's worked with some of the staff in the athletic department. Our friend Tyler Kai, worked with him down in Tulane.
That's right.
So there's a relationship there already. I know Fred's got a relationship with him a little bit from his time in Northern Iowa. He'd commented earlier. He knows him from then. So, so that's there. And again, he came up with comments about how this is a kind of a dream job sort of thing, and wants to move the family closer. And just a word of advice from anybody listening, anyone in the athletic department, coaching jobs: don't ever say this is your last job. You're never going to move again. This is your dream job. He said the same thing when he got to Washington. He doesn't plan to move again, and that didn't last. And we know what our AD, prior AD said about this. Just to say you're happy.
I wonder, Boomer, if that's a good strategy to get hired by someone else, right? Because like whenever you do say that's your dream job, someone else comes and headhunts you to another job that's even better, and you can't believe you're lucky enough to get that one. So I need to start saying that I'm on my dream job, so people will come, looking for me, maybe, huh?
Yeah, you might be right. I think we're out of this. So yeah, for anyone listening, we're all at our dream job. So don't we don't plan to move anywhere. So. Well, and the other interesting side of it is just, if you're a Washington Huskies fan, what do you think about where you're at in standings of the world of college football?
Yeah,
you had
this hurts.
You had a national championship football team. You lose your head coach, half your players, enter the portal as soon as he leaves. That's all dismantled. Your athletic director stays for barely enough time to get a nameplate on the door and learn anyone's names, and they're all gone. I mean, that's got to be a wake up call if you're a Huskies fan of any sort, of kind of where you're currently at in the world of college sports. So.
Yeah. And again, I think they'll probably make another good hire. Right? I feel like it's not that unattractive a job. It's more attractive today than it was a year ago when they weren't yet in the Big Ten. So, I mean, I think, long term, they'll be okay. But right now it's probably smarting, just like last week. A few fans here were smarting from the departure of Trev. So Rob, who does have his dream gig already, where do you think Matt Rule stands on this? I did hear some video today and audio. Rule speaking at the pro day. Seems like he knows Troy Dannon, at least at a professional level, and in general supported the hire.
Well, I mean, kind of has to. But I mean,
no, not necessarily.
Well, that's true. I mean, you're asking me, but that's the thing, is that Rule is kind of, as I think we've talked about before, he's kind of a master of the press, right? He always seems to say the right things. He always seems to have the right attitude, which is that he's focused on football, watching this, the success of this team in his second year, and I think that, overall, I would say that based off of the temperature of a lot of different people out there who, not fans and their emotional responses, but, like, Dave Bartu and Adam, what is his last name? And McClintock, all these guys, they all seem to think that this is a home run hire, and they seem to think that this guy is going to come in here and he's a perfect fit for this job. I'm going to trust those people. I really don't know if I have an opinion one way or the other, because I don't know who the guy is. I know that he did leave this Washington job, but if there is one place that seems to be worse off than us right now as far as an athletic department goes, it might be Washington. So, I mean,
I don't think we're that bad off.
No, we're not. We're not as far as like coaches, but I mean, our president and AD needed replacing, and our president's needed replacing for some time. And it does appear that they do have a person that they plan on hiring for that president job. So,
yeah, I mean, Boomer, do you have the name on that?
Gold last name. So,
for the president, yes, Gold. He's the chancellor of UNMC. So.
Yeah. So, and I believe he was out there. Wasn't he Trev's boss or something out at Omaha too? I think so. I mean,
yeah.
So, or is it chancellor in Omaha? So, it just seems. I mean, I think that as far as Rule goes, going back to your original point, you know what? He's going to go in there. He's just going to do his job. He's a professional. I mean, his job is to coach football and mentor these kids to be the best, versions of themselves that they can be every single day, and put some W's on the board for us this football season. And I think that's all he really cares about at this point.
Well, that's one opinion. I'd also share an opinion that I think Matt Rule probably was consulted a little bit before this decision was made, at least to vet the name. And I think, and I only say that, Rob, because I know it hasn't happened in the past, and you don't have the history, the institutional baggage of Sean Eichhorst or Steve Peterson getting hired, and the debacle that both of those were, and that was because of the failure of leadership, right? I mean, it was failure of leadership to identify the right type of leader for the athletic department, and I think that's a big part of why Matt Rule chose Nebraska to begin with was the leadership we were in place. I would have hated them to hire another Sean Eichhorst type guy, right, Boomer? I mean, I feel like that would have went against the grain of Matt Rule. So I hear what you're saying. I mean, it's great that Matt's focused on football, but I also think he understands the bigger picture. And I don't know if he would have expressed his displeasure today if he didn't like the guy, but he may not have said as many glowing words about Troy Danon if he didn't think he was up for the job. So I'll leave it at that. Anything else on the AD hire? If that's enough on administration, I'd love to just talk about sports.
Well, that could be our side podcast.
Hey, you brought it up, Dave. Okay, you brought it.
Hey, it was the people wanted to hear us talk, right? So there we go. It's out there. All right, Rob. I'll throw it to you for a little around the Van Horn. The Huskers continue their winning ways. Won last night. Are they playing again tonight, Rob?
Yeah, actually they played again tonight already. A little bit of colder weather too, which and in my opinion, last night was a really nice night. I think it was in the mid 60s, high 60s. Tonight was a bit colder for them. They played North Dakota State. The Bats didn't get going the way that they have been going lately. I mean, in the last 10 games, they're 8-2. They have not dropped a series against a team yet this year. They did split a series with Wichita State going, a game apiece.
Oh, it's midweek.
But this was, which brings me to a point too. Where did this team really struggle last year? And those were our midweek games, right?
Yep.
And it really looks like our pitching staff is coming together. Interesting points made by the announcing team tonight, or by the announcers tonight too, during the game while they were calling it. It seems like they really do have like their midweek pitching staffs, like 1A and 1B kind of put out there at this point, although there's not a whole lot of separation between them, hence why they were calling them 1A and 1B as far as the success for them and really starting to meld. So it really looks like our new pitching coach is pulling it together. They did win tonight 3-1. What's up, nice. Dave? You had a smile.
No, I just laughed like you. Well, new pitching coach.
Well, yeah,
Rob Childress.
It is Rob Childress
in college baseball.
Well, I agree. I agree. I
was funny. That's all.
I know, but I mean, we do have a history in Nebraska sports recently of hiring people that we think are going to do a great job, and then they come in and it's just like, what is going on? This seems to be a very this seems to be a very quick show of success of what's going on there. I mean, in the last two nights too, coming in, I believe we've just in the top of the ninth, we've had the lead. Tonight was, a chance to where we could have easily maybe blown it. We were up 3-1. I mean, we couldn't get our bats going. Our pitching held us together the entire night. And both times in a row, there have been great defensive plays either by the pitchers or behind the pitchers, and 1, 2, 3 innings to close out the ninth, and we were out of there. So, I mean, low drama, a little bit of mid inning, drama. Like last night, we were up 8-1, I think it was. They came back, scored 4s, 8-5. We turned around, put up 3 runs, I believe, in the bottom of the 8th. There's a lot of 2-out hitting going on, a lot of 2-out scoring going on. I mean, it's just good baseball. It looks great. It's fun to watch. Losses have been competitive, except for the Wichita State. We lost 3-9. That was like the only hiccup. It was a Wednesday night. I think some of those guys probably just wanted to come home. It was so. We're looking good.
Yeah,
we are looking good out there.
So we are an RPI of 8. So
yes,
it's really
so the RPI dropped from 3 to 8.
Right, but
okay, but
it's still too early to count. So it's okay.
We got
New
ranking votes.
Mexico State, right?
Yeah, we have New Mexico State this weekend coming up, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then we have one game on a Tuesday, next Tuesday against Kansas State in Manhattan. And then after that, we start Big Ten play where we play Northwestern for a series at Northwestern. Then we're at Creighton, and then we come home and play some against Ohio State. We go on the road at Kansas. We go to Rutgers. So, we're going to be testing the next 10 games or so, right?
The Big Ten RPI does look promising, to your point. Northwestern right now at 56, Ohio State at 53, Rutgers at 52, Maryland's at 29, Iowa's at 89. So that's a real promising sign, right? I mean, all those RPIs are probably going to drop a little bit here as we go, but they're not in the 1 or 200s already. And so that's a good sign that the Big Ten might have a decent RPI this year, and that could help more teams get in. And
it looks a lot different than last year too. This team, it's a little more balanced. Our offense isn't just all home runs or nothing. There's a lot of situational hitting that's going on. Our pitching is holding it together really well. Some of the guys that we thought might be pitching on the weekends, they're using as starters during the midweek games. And it seems the strategy seems to be working out really well for him. And I like that a lot. It just looks good. You can just tell this team feels it's a lot less like going, okay, well, we could really use a home run here, right? I mean, I think our leading home run hitter right now has 5 this far.
Yeah, that's pretty unusual year last year, to your point, Rob.
Yeah,
with a couple major.
I mean, it's record breaking, literally, for the school.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but
so that's exciting. So a lot more to come on baseball, and we hope to be doing more shows all the way through May and June with that team. If they can keep this up, to your point, maybe they get ranked and actually could be hosting a regional this year. That would be
the coaches poll. We had 8 votes last week. That's pretty good.
A little ways to go, but we'll get there. We'll get there. All right, guys, let's head into the meat of the show with a little Nebraska ball and talk about Fred Hoiberg and the boys and what they're going to be trying to do over the next few days. Nebraska doesn't play till 4:50 my time. I guess it'd be 5:50 Central on Friday. So it's actually prime time, right? Boom. I mean, that's a pretty good time slot for an 8-9 and should get a lot of eyes on the game, and especially with the Aggies. Now, to Rob's point, I don't know how much the rest of the country even cares about this matchup. They don't really understand what just happened, probably. The TV will probably mention it to some degree, but I mean, generally speaking, I think
I'll only disagree that I've actually heard it mentioned on a couple national broadcasts when discussing the matchup.
Yeah.
This week.
Yeah, like the casual fan probably isn't going to really know that much.
That's fair. Yeah.
People that follow sports really closely will definitely. It's an interesting matchup. I think we do actually win out on the stats, shooting in particular, but they are a rebounding team, Boomer. And what does Nebraska struggle with?
Running offensive rebounds, especially. That's the big concern about this game.
Yeah. I think at least they know well ahead of time here who their opponent is and what they need to do. And so they've proven when they got really out hustled and out muscled at Rutgers when they came back to Lincoln, played a very different game. Hopefully that's an example of how this team can mentally prepare for what they're going to have to go against. There's a couple of good guards at A&M. They're not great shooting guards, though. They're more slashers. But they're pretty dynamic, and A&M should pose a good test for certain.
There's one of the I like just looking at the matchup too. One of the things that we really need to focus on. Nebraska has a tendency, especially compared to A&M, we turn the ball over more than them. And one thing that they do is that they are one of the nation's leaders in well, they're not the nation's leaders, but they do have more steals per game than us. So, I mean, that would be the one thing is, I mean, the key to just about every Nebraska win is, limit the turnovers, control the ball, make your shots. And, they're one of the worst 3-point shooting schools in the country, I think, of what I saw. So, that bodes well for us because, of course, I'm going to go negative like Boomer and say this will be the one game where Texas A&M probably goes out and breaks a record for the number of free 3-pointers they make in an entire game. So, I mean, that's maybe make sure that they aren't making those shots.
Yeah, that would help. And, you always hear the talk of, Nebraska has an opportunity to be kind of that one of those darling teams of the tournament, with Casey and things like that. And, this time slot is a perfect chance to actually do that. Like you said, Dave, it's kind of one of those prime time slots. Agreed. It's on a Friday evening that, the second day of the tournament, you've got a little bit of a story that they can talk about and sell it. This would be that chance to actually get people watching and really kind of jump onto the bandwagon of Husker basketball if they can come out. If Casey can hit some threes and look good and kind of get people behind him. That's kind of one of the things that we didn't see when we played Illinois. This last game, we finally had the big CBS game and we just came out and could not hit threes. For the life of us. It just did not shoot well.
They looked good for one half, right?
I think we did for the first half, but the threes certainly weren't falling like they were the previous night against Indiana.
No.
Yeah. So. No. Yeah, that's what you really want to do is you want to take that opportunity and, get people behind you. And so I was going to ask you, Dave, you're more the basketball guy. So outside of the, the rebounding, concern there, what are you looking for? What would be the telling stat outside of that? If, rebounding is what it is, what either does Nebraska need to do to win the game or keep Texas A&M from doing? What's another thing you're going to look for?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I do think this is overall a pretty good matchup. So I do think, to your point about shooting and feeling comfortable in that gym, I'm going to be looking forward if they make a few shots early, right? I am always concerned about being cold early and then just not getting into the rhythm of the game, right? And that could happen, right? And that would go into A&M's advantage because A&M's going to miss shots themselves, but they're likely going to get more offensive rebounds than we do. And they're going to get more second chance and third chance points. And so they might have more possessions than us. So we're going to have to be efficient. There's that word efficiency. Honky would hate it. We need to be efficient on offense. And then, what I do have confidence in is Fred's going to, scheme up this game the best he possibly can. And, A&M's got a very good coach as well. Buzz Williams is an experienced coach that has won at multiple stops on his resume and has gone deep in the tournament. So, I think it's a great coaching matchup. It's going to be a matter of starting off well and then I think halftime adjustments because I think A&M is going to figure out how to defend us to some degree and how can we adjust in the second half. And as long as we keep our defensive intensity up, I think we'll be okay. And I don't know why they wouldn't do it. This is the game to do it, right? So I'll cross my fingers.
I'll be interested to see how this game is called too, and where the ref is, right? Because and again, and I'm not saying this to make excuses, and I don't want any of our listeners to think that that's the case. But what I mean by that is obviously the Big Ten referee crews seem to have their challenges. I'll be nice about it that way. And we've talked about
a different type of game. Let's put it that way.
Right? And it'll be interesting to see if we get like a Pac-12, officiating crew or like a Mountain West or somewhere where they allow a little bit more flow to the game. And maybe there are some fouls, but at the same time, they let some of them go based off of like the style of basketball being played where, again, Nebraska has a pretty good, motion offense that moves around a lot. And they've been very good on defense. And there's a lot of ticky-tack fouls called in the Big Ten where hopefully maybe that won't be the case. I'm just hoping, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of game is being called because, both these teams could have, really interesting offensive. Texas A&M right now, a couple of their players, the couple of their best players have been playing very well as of late, right? They're very up and down.
Yeah, they're hot right now.
Yeah, they win 5. Well, let's just say they won 5, they lose 5, they win 5, they lost 5. They're in the middle of like a 5. Well, other than losing in their conference tournament, winning 5 games in a row.
You could argue they've started a 5-game losing streak, Rob, right?
Yeah, they started a 5-game losing streak. That was going to be my point. Unfortunately, it's going to end at 2.
That's right. Well, no, they could carry on to next year, obviously.
Fair.
All right. Well, we'll go back to Nebraska's bracket here in the South just a little bit later and talk about what a potential matchup against Houston would look like. But let's go through a few of the other brackets and just talk about a few other games that maybe have caught our interest, maybe with some focus on Big Ten. Obviously, the Big Ten has a lot of seeds in that 8-9 range. We are an 8. Northwestern is a 9 and is playing Florida Atlantic, who seems to be a little bit overseeded. Maybe that's based off of the fact they made the Final Four last year. What do you think with the Wildcats there, Boomer? You think they can get that?
Yeah, I think so. I was going to say what you said, Dave. I think Florida Atlantic kind of surprised a lot of people as an 8 seed, and heck, there'd probably some people argue they shouldn't be in the tournament at all. But yeah, I think that's a decent matchup for Northwestern. They've already proven they can win games in the NCAA tournament, and I actually had them advancing, out of this bracket, or at least out of this game here, face UConn in the next round. So.
Yeah, maybe I'll take a pause there for just 1 second. I think outside of probably Virginia last night getting in the tournament, I don't feel like I have much of an issue on which teams made it or didn't. Obviously, there's a lot of bid stealing going on there at the last weekend, but the seeding is really wacky at times. FAU is one of those examples, and doesn't make a whole lot of sense at times. And the fact that you have in the East, you've got Florida Atlantic, San Diego State, I believe, is that right? Is in there too? Yeah, and UConn. 3 of the Final 4 teams are from last year. Weird coincidence, right? There's just some weird things. UAB being that 12 seed versus San Diego State. UAB would never have been in this tournament if it wasn't for winning their final game in their conference tournament. And they get a 12. I don't. There's just some weird stuff going on there.
Yeah, I mean, well, they did beat Arizona earlier in the year.
Who doesn't beat Arizona?
Oh, stop it, Dave. But yeah, it was a home game for them, and it was an overtime win, and they won by 1 in overtime against Arizona.
Arizona played at Birmingham.
Yeah,
that's really weird.
Yeah, 2 overtimes. Yeah, I did too, and. Yeah, and then they lost to Illinois earlier in the year, but they beat they beat Texas A&M. There you go. They beat Texas A&M, by 7. They played teams. I mean, they tried to stack their schedule. They played teams. They played at Butler. I know Butler's not that great this year. They're an NIT team, sure. But I mean, they beat Butler at Butler. So I mean, they do have some pretty good wins early on in the season moving forward. So,
all right. Yeah. Rob is a big UAB fan. He's taking
I actually, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I have them beating San Diego State. So
all right. Anything else out of the East that catches your eye? I mean, I think a lot of people think this is the hardest region there is in this year's bracket.
I would probably agree with that. You got Iowa State, UConn. That should set up a good Elite 8.
A lot of people thought Iowa State should be a 1 seed, right?
Yes, yeah. There's talk of that. Yeah.
I'm always rooting for Moorhead.
Yeah, absolutely. Moorhead could take down the Fighting Illini. All right, let's move quickly over to the West, where both Rob and my other teams, North Carolina for myself, Arizona for Rob, will be fighting for supremacy here. I'm not overly confident this is not a vintage North Carolina team, but they did get that 1 seed in a relatively decent path. I think the West might be the weakest region out there, but they could face Michigan State in that second round. We think Sparty's going to get past Mississippi State?
I don't know.
Well, even if they don't, it'll be a great loss for them, so they'll probably move on anyway.
They'll probably move on anyway. They'll create a new bracket for them. The losers bracket.
That's right. That's right. We'll find out. Rob, how do you feel about these Wildcats?
I actually have Arizona and North Carolina playing each other in the Elite Eight.
Bold prediction, Rob.
Thank you, Dave. I actually have them. Yeah, I mean, I know bold prediction because they're the 1-2, but I mean, Arizona has to play teams like Baylor.
Baylor's playing well right now.
Yeah, and even Nevada is a tough team. They'd be a tough out if Arizona had to play them, or Dayton at that. I have Nevada beating Dayton, by the way, if anyone cares. And again, like Baylor has to beat, New Mexico. Again, a team that we all of us kind of paid attention to there in the Mountain West because of Skip's CSU Rams. They won the Mountain West tournament. So I mean, there are some tough teams in that bottom part of the bracket. I think that once North Carolina, gets past Wagner there in the first game, I think they have maybe the easiest path of a lot of teams out there. Alabama would be one that they might run into. Really, if Alabama gets past St. Mary's, you know what I mean. And I don't really know much about that portion. So I mean,
good.
It'll be a good bracket. I'm excited to kind of see that Arizona might have a chance to finally get over the hump and beat North Carolina.
Get past Dan Munson,
or get over the hump and beat a 15 seed. That's really what Arizona.
Hey, you know what? I will fight you, Boomer.
Rob, I'll make sure to bring out the Arizona sweatshirt that you gave up last year when they lost.
I didn't give it up. I just left it at your house for a year.
You said you needed to retire it for a while. All right, Midwest guys, do you think Purdue's finally going to get over their hump and advance far into this tournament as a 1 seed?
Boy, I don't trust Purdue. It's hard to, just given their history. I mean, they kind of got a decent draw on that side of the bracket, especially with news out of Kansas. Losing them. Oh God,
you know what? If they lose in this bracket, it's going to be in the second game to like a Utah State.
Yeah, they should get by.
But Purdue is a much more rounded team this year with better.
Yeah, Kevin McCullough. That's the name I was trying to think of. Yep.
Yeah, but is Edney going to get away with his? Is Edney going to get the fouls? That's the thing. Is he going to get the fouls called in his favor? That he gets in the Big Ten, because in the Big Ten he gets star preference, much like Shannon does for Illinois, right? Are they going to get those type of calls in the NCAA tournament? So that'll dictate a lot of that,
Yeah. Well, Creighton is also in this bracket on the other half, and has a chance to meet up with Dana Altman actually in round 2, where Oregon, who won the Pac-12 over Colorado, could take down the 6th seed South Carolina Gamecocks. So that will be an interesting one to watch if Altman gets to face the Blue Jays.
Well, if anybody, a total of 22 times in the first round in the NCAA tournament, a 14 seed has beaten a 3. And this year I have got, and this year I do have
You're taking Akron
over Creighton. Yeah,
you're insane.
All right.
I absolutely insane. I mean, I would have them losing to Oregon anyway in the second round. So
I think Creighton can go deep in this one. This might actually be their bracket. I don't trust Tennessee either, honestly. I do think Colorado State was building off the momentum. We've seen this a lot where play-in games result in a team that is ready to go out of the gate in their first round game, and that is against Texas here. So I'll hoping for the Rams tomorrow night to actually get another victory.
For the record, the 14-3 upset, the last it happened was in 2021, so it's due.
Okay, I'm not rooting against Creighton here, but that can be Rob's choice.
Oh, I'm always.
I'm not rooting for Creighton though.
No, I'm not rooting for Creighton.
Okay,
Dave's a J-sker, so.
I am not. I just have a long family history with the school, and I have no problem with them whatsoever. Proud of the fact that they're from Omaha and how far they've come up. The South. Here we go. Here we already talked about Nebraska. I think Houston can handle Longwood. Rob, it's another tough.
If we had a Longwood versus Moorhead finals in the NCAA tournament, it would be divisive in all households.
Why is that, Rob?
Well, because the men would be rooting for Moorhead and the women would be rooting for Longwood.
Oh, I see. yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
Boomer's face tells it all. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Wisconsin's over here. Wisconsin. What Wisconsin are you going to get in this tournament? The team that looked like they could win a national championship in December, or the team in February that
I don't think this
couldn't win another game?
I don't think they're going to turn it around this point in the season.
They played really well in the Big Ten tournament. They made it all over to the finals, Rob.
They did. Yeah.
They already turned it around.
Ish.
All right, Rob. All right.
I'm hoping they got
right away.
Kind of a tough draw for
that's going to be your. That's going to be a 12-5 upset right there.
All right, you're taking the Dukes of Jane Madison, who did beat Sparty the first game of the year.
They did.
They did.
A good loss for Sparty, by the way.
Good loss. Yeah.
Shout them up the net rankings.
NC State, another hot team, but sometimes when you play 5 games in 5 days to win a conference tournament, you may not have your legs back underneath you. On the following Thursday, they got Texas Tech. Kentucky could actually make a run here. Marquette, interesting 2 seed, also has some potential injury issues there. So we'll see where the health is. If the Buffs win tonight, Rob, do you have a score on that game right now?
I don't, but I can get one for you here very quickly.
Okay. So. If they could take on Florida in that 7-10 matchup.
35-33 Colorado currently. Yeah.
Okay. So
anybody's game, I guess.
Yep. All right. Well, let's talk really quick about if Nebraska, all in likelihood, right? Because we're being negative here, could beat Texas A&M. Could they take on another Texas team in Houston? 1 seed that almost was the number 1 overall seed, and actually upset the Cougs. Boomer, Houston plays some tenacious defense. They've got some legit players, but they're not a big scoring team, and we can hang around, and that's what you're looking to do to upset, right?
Yeah. Let's just if we get by A&M, which again we're
when.
Yes, if whichever one you want to go with.
When.
Yeah, I mean Houston.
Rob, we're being negative. Come on, Rob.
Yeah,
I got to be positive. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. We're actually live here. We're not on our text thread, okay?
Yeah, you can hang around, a team like Houston. I mean, they're not some unstoppable, top juggernaut. They've struggled here kind of late in the season, and
sure, I always
Nebraska has shown they can keep up with and play with high ranked teams. You beat Purdue, you have a couple shots at Illinois and could have legitimately beaten them twice.
We handed Michigan State a great loss.
A team like Houston. So, and again, if you're playing them close, anything can happen at that point. So, but first off, let's just get by A&M and we'll worry about, heck, maybe we'll even get Longwood. Who knows? So,
Yep, that's right. Wouldn't that be fun? Everything just opens up for us.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, it's happened twice now suddenly. So. All right, guys. Well, I mean, this is going to be a very unusual and fun weekend, and Honky is not on the show tonight because he's already asleep because he is so excited. He just wanted to get his last sleep in before he catches a plane and comes out here to Denver. Rob, you're going to come visit me in Honk on Friday, right?
Friday. I'll probably, if you'd like. I was going to talk about it to you after his show, but I am dropping my daughter off at school at 8:00 in the morning on Friday, and I am headed straight down to Denver. So I will bring breakfast burritos or something, and
nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. So
I appreciate someone had an emoji about I don't consider myself a J-sker.
He's not a J-sker, and I will say that
Dave, understand that term.
Dave is a proud Nebraskan, and he does support. And in fact, Dave got married in the church on Creighton campus. So
that's right.
Which I attended.
My grandparents also did. So
yeah. So it was
Boomer. What's the definition of a J-sker? Is it someone who actually, in my mind, they root for Creighton basketball, but not Nebraska basketball, and then they do root for Nebraska football? That's to me a definition.
Yeah, I think a good definition of a J-sker would generally be they root for whichever team is better at any given time, and generally that has been Creighton for the most part, but they'll keep that Nebraska gear.
So a J-sker could choose their basketball allegiance just on who's.
I think there's a certain percentage of them that do that, but there are a lot of legitimate, Creighton basketball fans and people that attend the school, Omaha residents,
right. Sure.
I equate it to those people in the Bay Area that used to wear like
that. So, Yeah, there are Creighton fans for basketball.
So I would say just to be clear, I would, when Nebraska plays Creighton, I always root for Nebraska. That's not the issue. So it's just that I don't actually root against Creighton because I don't see the purpose of that.
There are people in the Bay Area, Dave, that wear like we call them split hats in the Bay Area.
Sure, I totally know what you're saying,
on one side and Giants on the other, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And
covering all bases there, right? Yeah.
Right.
No pun intended. So
all right. Well, this has been fun. We wanted to keep it kind of brief, and really appreciating everyone who's been watching. Anything else, guys, before our parting shots hit?
No.
All right, let's get out of here. Boomer, why don't you take it away with your parting shot?
Yeah, don't have a whole lot tonight. It's just been a busy sports week, and a week that's not usually a busy sports week for the Redcast or Nebraska fans in general. So it's been fun and entertaining. Just want to kind of again remind everyone, just try to hold transactional relationships with your coaches and athletic staff and things like that. You don't.
That's right.
Don't set them too much emotional attachment. Yeah, don't get too emotionally attached to any of them. They're business people too. At the end of the day, people aren't traitors. People aren't backstabbing scum. Well, a few of them are, but generally speaking, yeah, you don't get mad when your banker or somebody quits or leaves, or your dentist, or like your favorite podcaster. Just kind of let it slide. Move on to the next guy. As somebody once said, Nebraska athletics is bigger than one person, and Nebraska as an institution is. So just take that approach and run with it. So
yeah, especially when you don't actually know all the information, right?
Yes,
I mean,
correct.
the challenge as fans is we want to know everything, and then we read a bunch of potential theories, and we don't actually know what happens or what are all the reasons one person does this or that. And so it's just difficult for me to get to claim that I know or can take some moral high ground when I just don't actually know the full story. So I'd rather the transactional nature of those relationships is a very good description, Boomer. I appreciate that. All right, Rob, take it away.
Well, since we last got together, and the girls softball team had lost tragically to my Northern Colorado Bears. They have now won.
You root for the Northern Colorado Bears, Rob?
Oh, absolutely, man. I'm a Bearsker.
The Bearsker thing.
Yeah.
Bearsker. There you go.
Well, my wife is an alum, and I do live 4 blocks from the college, so I do support a lot of their sports teams when I can. And they are a D1
and that's
school.
Okay, Rob. You can do that.
I know. Well, thank you for your permission, Dave. But I will say that they have gone 5-1 in their last 6 games, and so they're now 16-13. Nice. They're over 500. And maybe they're starting to pull it together here a little bit. They did lose to Omaha tonight. They lost 5-2, but they start their Big Ten schedule coming up this weekend versus Illinois. So that means that they will be home for their next 6 games. They play Illinois, then Wisconsin, Kansas, Penn State. They're at home all the way up until April 7th, people. So get out there and support your women's sports as well as your men's sports. And I do know that our women's basketball team is also in the tournament. So,
yes.
And who are they playing, Rob? Can you remind us?
I did say that they're playing Texas A&M.
I just wanted to double check and make sure that.
Yeah. Oh, you thought I was talking about the men's team because the men's.
No,
team
I just wanted to double check and make
A&M.
sure that's what you actually said. It's weird how that happens. And then,
amazing. Pure coincidence.
Yeah, I mean, pro wrestling. No, I mean, this is too damn obvious of a storyline setup. I mean, geez, guys, come on, NCAA. At least try to disguise it a little. Set it up as a second round matchup. Like
but no. Dave doesn't want to talk about it, so we're not going to talk about it.
Well, it's not very productive. That's all my point is. If you really think we're going to really learn a lot from this discussion, fire away, Rob.
Productivity here in the
bitching and complaining is always productive, Dave. Okay.
All right, guys. Well, that's look, there's another Bearsker there. The Mercer Bears. All right, that doesn't really count.
Oh, Mercer Bears.
Everyone can have fun rooting for college sports across the board, guys.
Yeah.
All right, this has been fun. Prime me up for a big weekend here. Sure, we'll have a lot of stories to tell the Redcasters once we get back on a show soon thereafter. For now, let's call that another Go Big Redcast.
Go Big Red.
A Herd at Sports Network production.